Good morning, I'm Tina Folsom. Today I'll be reading the first chapter of my upcoming time travel romance, Time Quest: Reversal of Fate. It'll be releasing at the end of June, or maybe a little bit earlier if I get the cover earlier. The book is ready. So it's copyright 2021, Tina Folsom of course, and here we go. In 2085, humankind is at the brink of extinction. A mutated virus originating from a worldwide pandemic in 2025 has rendered 99% of women infertile, yet has no effect on men. The only hope for the survival of mankind is to send young men back in time to find fertile women before the virus infects them. However, the space-time continuum may not be disturbed, since any change in the past may wipe out the future. Therefore, only women known to have died during the 2025 pandemic may be chosen. But will they come willingly? Carter Ambrose is the first young man to travel back in time and assigned to bring back Julie Russel, a young woman fated to die in the first wave of the pandemic. However, something goes wrong during the time jump, and Carter suddenly finds himself racing against time to win Julie's trust and affection so he can convince her to come back to the future with him. Chapter 1. Romeo, oh Romeo. Los Angeles, Friday, July 20th, 2085. The one-week training had come to its end. For 7 days, recruits, young men like Carter Ambrose, had gotten a crash course in life in the year 2025. Historian after historian, all ancient by Carter's measure, had droned on about details that could lull even an insomniac into a deep sleep. The several hundreds of recruits, ranging in age from 18 to 25, exhibited varying attention spans. All they wanted was to get on with it. But Professor Henley, the gray-haired man who ran the program, was leaving the best for last: the details about their upcoming voyage through time. The prospect of time travel was why the professor, with the blessing of the government, had been able to recruit lots of young men willing to risk their lives in service of humankind. What young man wouldn't leap at the chance of traveling to the past? It was an adventure, and the main reason Carter had signed up. His parents were proud of him, and his sisters anxious but hopeful that he would come back unharmed and with his mission accomplished. At a tapping sound coming from the loudspeakers in the large amphitheater-style auditorium, the crowd fell silent. Everybody turned their attention to Professor Henley, who stood at a small podium. The wall behind him and the floor beneath his feet were an ever-changing screen of graphics used to illustrate the speaker's points. The walls and floor now turned a vibrant blue, then faded in places until the same word materialized everywhere. "Romeos, that's what we've decided to call your group," Professor Henley said in a deep baritone voice. There were murmurs, but nobody spoke up or posed a question. They knew better than to waste the professor's time. I'll explain why later, but let me begin by reiterating how urgent and important your mission is. Behind him, charts appeared. Carter barely glanced at them. He'd seen them before and knew what they meant, because his father was one of the scientists who'd been instrumental in alerting the government to the severity of mankind's predicament. As many of you know, a virus that originated on the South American continent and spread across the globe in the fall and winter of 2025 lay dormant for almost 50 years, mutating many times over, embedding itself in the DNA of the females of our species, yet remained undetectable for decades. Even our best scientists were blindsided when it struck us at the core of our existence: procreation. 99% of the world's female population are now infertile, incapable of creating new life. Behind the professor, the graphs and pictures changed. Empty cribs and maternity wards popped up and created an eerie collage. This is where you come in, you, the Romeos. He showed a hint of a smile for having come up with this moniker. We need you to travel back to before the outbreak of the virus, to find those women of childbearing age who, according to historical records, died from the disease. We need you to find them, befriend them, romance them, hence Romeos, and bring them to our time, to 2085, before they can get infected and become worthless to us. Carter raised an eyebrow. Bad choice of words, Professor. Even Carter, as a 20-year-old, knew much more about women than to call them worthless. Questions before I go on? Over 100 hands went up. Professor Henley pointed to a man in the first row. You. He glanced at the name tag. Joshua Fletcher. Why can we only bring back women who died during the pandemic? Wouldn't we have a better choice if we widened our criteria? I mean, what if they're all ugly? Several recruits laughed. Others rolled their eyes. Professor Henley narrowed his eyes. Because you want to return to the world you left, don't you? You want to come back to this version of 2085, not another. He looked into the crowd, where enough recruits looked confused for the professor to find it necessary to elaborate. If you had listened to Mrs. Dorchester, who explained quantum physics and the space-time continuum to you, you wouldn't be staring back at me like clueless fish. He sighed. Well then, a refresher. If you were to pluck one random woman out from 2025 and transplant her to 2085, you will have changed the course of history. Imagine this woman was going to have a child, who then went on to make an important discovery in medicine, physics, chemistry, city planning, or even art. The absence of this person, that child and its descendants, would mean that our future, the world we live in right now, would become different. You will have created a new timeline, one in which your loved ones might not exist. You mean like if Albert Einstein's mother were to come back with us before she gave birth to him? One recruit called out. Exactly. We've carefully selected from the pool of women who died during the 2025 pandemic, so we won't have to worry about a disruption in the space-time continuum. Only the women destined to die may be brought back to our time. It is the only rule you may never break, no matter the circumstances. Then he looked at Joshua Fletcher. No matter how ugly the woman assigned to you is. That comment resulted in raucous laughter of the crowd and a beet-red face for Joshua. Carter drew one side of his mouth up. He'd had the same thought as Joshua, but was smarter. He simply hadn't voiced it, or he would have been the one with the red face. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little preview, and I will let you guys know when the book is ready and can be purchased or borrowed at Kindle Unlimited. I'm also planning to produce a paperback version of it. Okay, thanks very much. Bye.